I still remember the weight of that hospital door closing behind me. 11 endless days of silence, pain, and loneliness had left me weaker than ever. My legs trembled as I stepped out of the cab, each movement reminding me of the stitches that pulled at my skin. I thought the worst was over, that once I walked into my house, I would finally feel safe. Maybe, just maybe, my son would be waiting with open arms, ready to welcome me back home after my fight for life. But life has a way of crushing fragile hopes. When I pushed open the front door, silence greeted me. No smile, no hug, not even a note left on the table. Just emptiness. Still, I told myself not to cry. I had survived the hospital alone. I could survive this moment too. I set my small hospital bag on the floor and walked slowly toward the kitchen, expecting at least the comfort of familiarity. And then I saw it. There, standing tall and gleaming, was a refrigerator I had never seen before. It was larger, newer, almost glowing compared to the old, loyal fridge that had served us for decades. For a second, I felt a strange hope. Had my son bought this for me? Was this his way of saying he cared, even if he hadn't visited me once in the hospital? But my fragile hope was shattered the moment Gregory, my son, walked into the kitchen. A beer can dangled from his hand, his face calm, careless, almost cold. Behind him came Michelle, my daughter-in-law, carrying a stack of sticky labels and a marker. They didn't even look at me. What is this?" I asked, pointing at the shining fridge that stood like a stranger in my kitchen. Gregory took a slow sip before answering, as if my question was an inconvenience. "It's our fridge, Mom. For our things." I froze. Our fridge? Michelle knelt down and began pressing labels onto the shelves inside the new appliance. One by one, she wrote her name in bold, thick letters. Shelley, Shelley, Shelley. She filled every rack, every drawer, every space with her name, branding it as hers, as if she owned the very air inside it. "This one is for our groceries," she said casually, not even looking at me. "The things we buy with our money. We don't want them getting mixed with yours." Her words cut deeper than my surgical stitches. In that moment, I looked at my half-empty old fridge, holding only scraps, and then at their fridge, already overflowing with expensive wines, imported cheeses, and rich cuts of meat. It was like staring at two different worlds, one of survival and one of indulgence, separated by nothing but arrogance. I whispered, "But this is my house." Gregory let out a dry laugh, sharp enough to pierce my heart. "Yeah, Mom, your house. But we live here too. And let's be honest, your little pension can't buy the kind of things we like. So, we decided to get organized." Organized. That word echoed in my chest like a cruel joke. Because what I saw wasn't organization. It was division. It was betrayal, painted in shining silver and labeled shelf by shelf with Michelle's name. And yet, as the pain twisted inside me, something else began to stir. I didn't know it yet, but that refrigerator wasn't just a machine sitting in my kitchen. It was the doorway to a truth I had refused to see for too long. A truth that my son, my only child, was not the man I thought he was. What stood before me was not just a fridge. It was a warning. And soon, I would discover the chilling reality it had been hiding all along. I stood there, still weak from the hospital, while Michelle moved around my kitchen as if it belonged to her. Every time she pressed another label with her name inside that fridge, it felt like a knife carving me out of my own home. Gregory crushed his empty beer can in his hand, tossing it onto the counter with no care. "Don't take it the wrong way, Mom," he said, his tone dripping with false calm. "This is just more practical. You buy your groceries, we buy ours. That way, there are no mix-ups." Mix-ups. The word rattled in my mind. Had I ever in my life denied him food? Had I ever once complained about him eating from my fridge, even when I barely had enough for myself? 4 years, I worked double shifts so his plate was never empty. And now, in my old age, he was guarding food from me like I was some stranger off the street. I whispered. Gregory, I never denied you anything. Michelle stood up, smoothing her hair with a satisfied smile. Her eyes swept over me with the cold efficiency of someone looking at a problem, not a person. Eleanor, she said softly, don't take offense. We just have different standards. We like better cuts of meat, imported things, good wine. You buy the basics. Bread, eggs, cheap cheese. It's just not the same. So, this is easier. Not the same. I felt my stomach twist. They weren't just dividing food, they were dividing dignity. Their fridge gleamed, stuffed with luxuries I couldn't dream of buying, while mine stood half empty, its shelves echoing my loneliness. The contrast was brutal, like standing in front of two mirrors, one showing abundance and pride, the other showing emptiness and defeat. Gregory walked closer, resting a heavy hand on my shoulder as if his touch could soften the cruelty of his words. Relax, Mom. It's nothing personal. But let's face it, you're not young anymore. Your little pension barely covers the basics. We need more. We deserve more. Deserve. That single word echoed in my chest louder than the fridge door slamming shut. Deserve. Did they forget the decades I sacrificed? Did they forget how I gave up everything, even my mother's jewelry, to pay for his education? I wanted to scream it, to throw the truth in their faces. But the weight of my body, still fragile from surgery, kept me silent. I carried my bag down the narrow hallway, every step heavier than the last. My small sewing room, once my escape, my pride, had been turned into a cramped corner of exile. A twin bed, a wardrobe, for walls that closed in tighter with each breath. Meanwhile, they slept in my master bedroom, used my living room, filled every corner of my house with their possessions. And yet, what stung most wasn't the loss of space. It was the loss of respect. As I lay on the small bed, tears stung my eyes. From the kitchen, I could hear them laughing, glasses clinking, the sound of the fridge opening and closing. They were celebrating my weakness, my silence, my acceptance of their rules. That night, staring at the cracked ceiling above me, I realized the truth I had been too afraid to admit. To them, I wasn't a mother anymore. I was a burden, a shadow, a wallet they had already emptied and a body taking up space until it finally disappeared. But as much as the humiliation crushed me, something else began to stir inside. Something I hadn't felt in years. It wasn't sadness. It was anger. Lying on that narrow bed, listening to their laughter echo through the walls, memories came rushing back. Memories I had buried under years of silence. I remembered the first time I held Gregory in my arms. He was my miracle, the child I thought I might never have. His tiny fingers wrapped around mine, and in that moment, I swore I would give him everything. And I did. Every overtime shift at the factory, every aching back, every blistered hand. I told myself it was all worth it if it meant he had a better life. When his father died suddenly from a heart attack, Gregory was already an adult. He looked me in the eyes at the funeral and said, "Don't worry, Mom. I'll take care of you. You'll never want for anything." I clung to those words like a lifeline. But promises are fragile things, especially when spoken by those who never intend to keep them. At first, he would visit, fix things around the house, take me to the market. But then Michelle appeared. She was beautiful, sharp-tongued, with a taste for the finer things. From the beginning, I noticed the way she looked at me, not with warmth, but with calculation. As if she was measuring my worth in dollars, not love. 6 months after they met, there was a wedding. A lavish one. $10,000 gone. My savings, my lifeline. I paid it because Gregory was my only son. Because he deserved the best. They promised to repay me. I never saw a single cent. After marriage came the requests. "Mom, we need money for the car repair." "Mom, Michelle has a medical emergency." "Mom, can you help with the deposit?" always urgent, always guilt-laced. And each time I gave in, because mothers don't say no. Because I believed if I denied him, he might drift away forever. Then came the pandemic. They lost their jobs. Suitcases showed up at my door. It's temporary, Mom. Just a couple of months. But a couple of months stretched into a year. Then another. Slowly, they spread through the house like ivy choking the walls. My master bedroom, gone. My living room, gone. My kitchen, rearranged and stripped of the pots that had carried Gregory through childhood. I swallowed every humiliation, every insult disguised as advice, every demand dressed as necessity. My $30,000 in savings disappeared into their endless wants. Even the small emergency account Bernard had left me, emptied without my knowledge. And when I dared to ask, Gregory waved it off casually. I used it to pay debts, Mom. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. How many times had I heard those words? Don't worry when he didn't visit me in the hospital. Don't worry when Michelle sneered at my cooking. Don't worry when my own home no longer felt like mine. But the truth was, worry had become my constant companion. And now, with every reminder of what I had given and what they had taken, I felt something inside me break. I had carried them for decades. I had sacrificed everything, my body, my health, my future, for the promise of love and respect. And what had I been repaid with? A fridge divided like a border wall. A kitchen marked with labels. A son who laughed in my face and told me I couldn't afford the life they wanted. That night, I realized the harsh truth. I had not raised a grateful son. I had raised someone who saw me as a resource to be drained, a stepping stone to a life he thought he deserved. And Michelle? She wasn't just his partner in marriage. She was his partner in exploitation. But they had made one mistake. They thought my silence was weakness. They thought my love was endless. They thought I would continue to give until I had nothing left. They were wrong. Because even the kindest heart, when broken too many times, finds its edge. And mine was sharpening in the darkness of that small room. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw those bold black letters. Shelley, 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 staring at me from every shelf of that fridge like scars branded into my home. Their laughter drifted through the walls, mixed with the clinking of wine glasses, and it struck me like thunder. They weren't just enjoying dinner, they were celebrating. Celebrating my silence. Celebrating that they had finally stripped me of all dignity. But in the stillness of that small room, something shifted inside me. The Eleanor they thought was weak, the Eleanor who swallowed insults and forgave betrayal, had died in that hospital bed. What returned home was someone different. Someone tired of being trampled. Someone ready to see the truth no matter how much it hurt. The next morning, sunlight poured weakly through the curtains. My body was sore, my heart heavier than ever, but there was a spark, a quiet fire. I walked to the kitchen, and once again, I faced the two fridges. Mine, nearly empty, a carton of milk, 3 eggs, yesterday's bread. Theirs, overflowing, imported steaks, bottles of expensive wine, gourmet cheese stacked like trophies. 2 worlds, side by side, but divided by greed. As I stood there, lost in thought, a voice called from outside. Eleanor. It was Beverly, my neighbor of more than 20 years. She stood by her garden fence, watering her flowers, her wide-brimmed hat shielding her from the sun. She had always been kind, but distant, just polite greetings and small talk. Yet something in her eyes that morning made me open the door. She stepped inside, and her gaze fell immediately on the 2 refrigerators. Her expression froze for a moment, her lips tightening before she spoke. "That's new," she said gently, though her tone carried an edge. Heat rose to my cheeks. Shame weighed heavy on me as I tried to explain, my voice trembling. "It's for Gregory and Michelle. For their groceries. They don't want things mixing with mine. Beverly's eyes softened, but there was steel in her voice. Eleanor, forgive me for being direct, but I need to tell you something I've kept to myself for months. My heart thudded painfully. What do you mean? She took a step closer, lowering her voice as though the walls themselves might betray us. I hear them sometimes, through these thin walls. The way they speak to you, the way they treat you. Eleanor, it isn't right. Last night, when you came home from the hospital, I heard everything. The fridge. The words about your pension. I heard it all. Tears burned in my eyes, but she wasn't finished. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for mine. And after you went to bed, I kept listening. They opened a bottle of wine and they celebrated. I heard Michelle say, "It won't be long now. When the old lady passes, this house will be ours. It's worth at least $200,000. The world stopped spinning. Beverly's voice broke as she continued. And Gregory laughed. He said, I hope she hurries up. I'm tired of pretending to care. I staggered back, gripping the table for balance. The words cut deeper than any knife. I had suspected they saw me as a burden, but hearing it spoken aloud, confirmed by someone else, it shattered the last fragile thread of hope I'd clung to. 4 years, I had told myself Gregory still loved me, buried somewhere under Michelle's influence. But Beverly's words stripped away that illusion. There was no love. Only calculation. Only greed. I covered my face as sobs tore through me. How could he say that? Beverly placed her hands firmly over mine. Listen to me, Eleanor. You are not imagining this. You are not crazy. They are using you. And if you don't act soon, you could lose not only your dignity but this house too. You need help. Real help. I wiped my tears, my chest heaving. But how? I don't even know where to begin. Her eyes narrowed with determination. I know someone. A retired lawyer. Arthur Dawson. He helps people in situations like this, people who are taken advantage of by the very ones they should be able to trust. If you're willing, I'll call him. But you need to be ready, Eleanor. Ready to fight. In that moment, a decision sparked inside me. I had been silent too long. I had allowed them to chip away at my life piece by piece. But Beverly was right. If I didn't act now, I would lose everything. For the first time in years, I looked at that gleaming fridge not as a symbol of humiliation, but as evidence. Evidence of betrayal. Evidence of a battle I could no longer avoid. I took a deep breath and whispered, Yes, call him. And with those words, the war began. Arthur Dawson arrived that afternoon, a tall man with silver hair and eyes that carried both intelligence and compassion. He shook my hand firmly and said, Eleanor, you're not alone anymore. We sat at my kitchen table while Beverly poured tea. One by one, I laid out the papers I had hidden, bank statements, bills, strange charges I didn't recognize. Arthur studied them carefully, his jaw tightening with each page. This isn't just carelessness, he said at last. This is fraud. Unauthorized withdrawals, forged signatures, identity theft, all committed by your own son. Eleanor, these are serious crimes. The words made my chest tighten, but also brought a strange relief. For the first time, someone was calling it what it really was. Not help, not family responsibility, but abuse. Arthur's plan was clear. We'll gather evidence, document everything, and then you'll confront them, but from a position of strength, not weakness. You will not beg. You will not cry. You will show them the truth, and we'll be here to make sure they cannot twist it back on you. Hours passed as we copied documents, took photographs of the luxury items Michelle had piled up in my master bedroom, and made a detailed list of every fraudulent charge. When we finished, I felt drained, but I also felt something else. Power. For once, I wasn't blind. For once, I wasn't silent. That evening, the sound of their car pulling into the driveway made my heart race. Gregory and Michelle stumbled inside, laughing, shopping bags dangling from their arms, clothes, electronics, perfumes from brands I couldn't even pronounce. Their joy vanished when they saw Arthur sitting at the table beside me. "What's this?" Gregory asked, his voice sharp, defensive. I stood. My hands trembled, but my voice did not. "We need to talk." Michelle rolled her eyes. "Eleanor, we're tired. Can't it wait?" Arthur rose to his full height, his presence commanding. "No, it cannot. My name is Arthur Dawson. I represent Eleanor Hayes. From this moment forward, any discussion regarding finances, property, or accounts will go through me." Gregory's face drained of color. "Counsel? Mom, what did you do?" "I found out the truth," I said quietly. "Everything you've been hiding." Arthur opened his folder and began laying papers on the table. Capital One credit card, opened in Eleanor's name without her consent. Current balance, $9,950. Citibank personal loan, $5,000, transferred directly into your account, Mr. Hayes. Forged signature on a home equity loan application worth $50,000. Bank records showing unauthorized withdrawals totaling $42,000 over the past 2 years. Each document landed like a blow. Gregory stammered, That's a mistake. I was helping her. She doesn't understand banking." "Managing finances does not mean stealing," Arthur cut in coldly. Michelle tried to step in, her voice honeyed and sharp at once. "Eleanor, you're confused. You signed those papers yourself. We explained everything." "No," I interrupted, my voice rising for the first time in years. "You shoved papers in front of me and told me to sign. You never explained anything." Beverly's calm voice cut through the tension. "I heard you both, the night she came home from the hospital. I heard you toasting to the day she dies so you can sell this house." Michelle's face twisted with rage. "That's a lie." But Beverly did not flinch. "I know what I heard, and I will testify to it if necessary." The room went silent, heavy with the weight of truth. Gregory's eyes darted, searching for escape, but every corner was blocked by evidence, by witnesses, by the reality he could no longer deny. I looked at him, at the son I had once believed would protect me. My voice shook, not from weakness, but from fury. "You didn't just betray me, Gregory. You destroyed the very bond between us. You weren't waiting for me to get better. You were waiting for me to die." For the first time, I saw fear in his eyes. Not fear of me, but fear of consequences. Arthur's voice was steady, final. "Gregory Hayes and Michelle Hayes, you are guilty of fraud, theft, and elder abuse. But tonight, Eleanor will decide whether you walk out of here with a chance to make things right, or whether we press charges and you face prison." Gregory's beer-stained hand trembled. Michelle's smug smile cracked. And for the first time in years, I realized the power wasn't theirs anymore. It was mine. The silence in the room felt like a storm about to break. Gregory's lips trembled as he tried to find the right words. Michelle clutched her shopping bags like they were armor, her eyes darting from Arthur to me and back again. Arthur leaned forward, his voice calm but merciless. "You have 2 options. The first, you admit the fraud, you return every dollar you stole, and you leave this house immediately. We will draft a repayment plan and hold back on criminal charges. The second, we file those charges tonight. Forgery, identity theft, financial elder abuse, felonies that carry prison sentences." Gregory's face crumbled. "Prison," he whispered. Michelle snapped, her voice sharp as broken glass. "This is ridiculous. Eleanor, he's your son. Are you really going to destroy your own family over a few misunderstandings?" I stepped forward, my hands trembling but my voice stronger than it had ever been. Family doesn't steal from me. Family doesn't wish me dead. You destroyed this family the moment you chose greed over love. Michelle's mask of control shattered. We sacrificed everything to stay here with you. Do you know how humiliating it is for us to live in this old house? To put up with your whining? We could have left, but we stayed. For you. For me. I laughed bitterly, tears stinging my eyes. No. You stayed for my house. For my money. For the life you thought you deserved. And tonight, that ends. Gregory tried again, his voice breaking. Mom, please, just give us more time. We'll fix this, I promise. Arthur placed the final papers on the table, an immediate eviction notice, signed and ready. You have 2 hours. Pack only what belongs to you. Anything purchased with stolen money stays here. If you refuse, I'll call the police right now. Michelle's jaw dropped. You can't do this. It's illegal. Arthur didn't flinch. This is Eleanor's house, and you are unauthorized occupants. Legally, she has every right to remove you. If the police arrive, they'll escort you out themselves. For the first time in years, Gregory looked small, like a child caught with his hand in the cookie jar, except this time the cost was measured not in sweets, but in dignity, money, and trust. He sank into a chair, his head in his hands. Mom, please, don't throw us out. I swallowed the lump in my throat, fighting the part of me that still remembered him as a little boy. But I couldn't let that part rule me anymore. You chose this, Gregory. Not me. 2 hours. Then you're gone. The house erupted in chaos. Michelle stormed upstairs, slamming doors and shouting curses under her breath. Drawers opened, suitcases banged against walls. Gregory followed, slower, broken, his shoulders slumped under the weight of his downfall. I stood in the living room with Beverly by my side, her hand wrapped firmly around mine. My legs shook, but I didn't falter. For the first time in years, this house felt like mine again, not because they were gone yet, but because I had finally stood up and taken it back. 2 hours later, the door slammed shut behind them. Suitcases, shopping bags, their expensive television, all crammed into the back of their car. Michelle's final words echoed through the doorway like venom. You'll regret this, Eleanor. You'll die bitter and alone. But I didn't flinch. I lifted my head, my voice steady. I'd rather be alone than live with thieves. The engine roared, the car disappeared around the corner, and the silence they left behind was sweeter than any music I'd ever heard. I sank onto the sofa, tears spilling down my face. But these tears weren't of humiliation. They were of freedom, of liberation, of dignity finally reclaimed. And for the first time in a long time, I smiled. The morning after they left, the house was quiet in a way it hadn't been for years. No slamming doors, no footsteps that weren't mine, no laughter that cut like knives. For the first time, the silence felt like peace, not loneliness. I walked through the rooms they had taken over. My master bedroom was still cluttered with the scent of Michelle's perfume, but I threw open the windows and let the fresh air sweep in. Slowly, I began to reclaim every space, washing, scrubbing, rearranging. Each act felt like a small victory, like I was peeling their shadow off my walls. Days turned into weeks, and with the help of Beverly and Arthur, I set my life back in order. The fraudulent accounts were closed. The bank began its investigation, and a portion of what they had stolen was already being returned. Gregory signed the repayment plan, and though his monthly transfers came without a single note or apology, they came. And Michelle? She disappeared, facing her own storm of consequences. But the greatest restoration wasn't of my finances, it was of my spirit. For the first time in decades, I felt strong again. I laughed with Beverly in the garden, planted roses in the soil where despair once lived, and filled my old fridge with food I loved. Not scraps, not leftovers, but meals chosen for me. One evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky gold, I realized something important. The greatest betrayal doesn't come from strangers, it comes from those you trust the most. But even betrayal can't erase your worth. Dignity isn't given by others. It's claimed by you. I had lost much, but I had gained something far greater, myself. And if there's one lesson my story can leave behind, it's this: never let anyone, not even family, convince you that your value is less than theirs. Backhand index pointing right. If you believe respect is more valuable than money, smash the like button, subscribe for more powerful true stories, and share this video so others never forget. Dignity is something no one has the right to steal.